Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And you get more information about the show and past shows, future shows, etc. at my website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. And each week we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Vernon and Joyce Robinson, founders of Dementia Partners AVL, being my guests today. And guys, you can feel free to wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. Okay, so that's
All right.
okay.
Good
That's the
evening.
Robinsons. I should mention that Vernon Robinson serves as executive director of Dementia Partners W West AVL. He holds a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling from South Carolina State University in Orangeburg and a bachelor's degree in social sciences and sociology from Clafton University. He served a 20-year career with the U.S. Department of Justice. So it started, Vernon, you started when you were like 7? Was that it? You youngest guy who ever worked with?
Well, not that early, but
That,
I got in
okay,
there
20 years, I
sooner.
find that hard to believe. Joyce Robinson serves as Chief Operating Officer of the organization after entering her bachelor's degree in business administration from Limestone College in Gaffney, South Carolina. She went to serve a 40-year career in the banking and financial services sector. So the first question, folks, I ask people when I meet them for the first time is, the two of you, did you grow up in the same area or did you grow up in separate areas?
Well, we did grow up in separate areas in the same state. I'm from Florence, South Carolina.
And
Okay.
I'm from Beaufort, South Carolina, the Low Country. We're near Hilton Head in the Bluffton area.
Okay. And so when you were growing up in South Carolina, did you always know you wanted to be involved in a nonprofit organization for dementia?
Well,
Mhm.
not right away. However, because of our personal journeys with our families, that is why we do what we do.
Okay, and it's cool you said that because I think that's why I'm glad you're on today because a lot of people have to go through the same kind of journeys, I guess. So talk if you would then, in terms of the personal journey, when did that start, Joyce?
Okay, our personal journey started about 2001 when my mother was diagnosed with dementia. It affected the family, my siblings and I. Vernon, along with my siblings, we became her permanent caregivers, and we cared for her during her journey. And we also were caregivers for Vernon's father. He was diagnosed with dementia also. So this was a passion for us to start an organization because it had affected us so closely with our parents.
And so let me ask you then, what gave you the impetus to actually then start a nonprofit? Because you had lived through it with a family,
Yes.
but then what got you started in starting this?
We thought, well, when we were going through the journey with our parents, we weren't a part of a support group. We wanted to bring back to the community to let people know that there is resources for them while they're on the journey, and so they don't feel so alone. We found that in the support groups, it helps so many families, um, caregivers who are on the journey right now to care for a loved one because it provides them with resources and also hearing someone else's story to help them along the journey.
If I can ask you ballpark, what percentage of folks do get dementia or eventually get dementia? Is there a figure somewhere that people should know about?
Well, we did some research, and so what we found was about 65 persons above that age would typically be on that dementia journey, but then 22% of most people may have a cognitive impairment. And what we have to understand is that it's not just an old age related condition. Dementia can happen for different reasons. It could be genetic, it could be hereditary, it could be trauma, it could be stress. All of these things may serve as a factor. Eating habits, sleeping habits, and it's just a conglomerate of things that actually can bring on dementia.
Is there a typical age that people experience this or start experiencing this?
Well, again, it's in the senior population,
Okay.
uh, but again, you can have someone in their midlife, or even if it's been a traumatic accident, and that may be someone in their 20s that could still develop dementia as well.
Now, I should ask you too, because I think people get confused with the fact that dementia is not necessarily Alzheimer's, right? Could you kind of clarify that for me, if you would, please?
Okay, what we do, we have a chart that has an umbrella, and we did research, and we're glad we did that because we found out that most folks in America thinks it's just Alzheimer's. But dementia is the umbrella, and there are just about maybe 11 or even more types of dementia under that umbrella. And so our goal as an organization is to educate you to, first of all, get a diagnosis if you're comfortable with that. And second of all, once you do have the diagnosis, then you will be able to understand what treatments are available, what biomarkers there are, what social behaviors there may be, what emotional changes may come with all of that process. And so, if we can help you on that journey to figure that out, that makes it better for everyone.
You raise a really good point there in terms of getting that diagnosis. And I know that some people are very concerned about that, or they don't want to get the diagnosis. How do you deal with that problem? In other words, you see somebody going through certain kinds of things, and you kind of know that it'd be helpful to get a diagnosis. How do you deal with the fact that some people just don't want to get that diagnosis? Do you have that happen at all?
We do, and we are understanding of that because we realize that this is something that's life changing.
Mhm.
And what we try to do is to offer a resource of services through other collaborations that we may have to say, well, we understand that stigma is the biggest problem. And as an organization, we've addressed that on other interviews and in our daily conversation, in our meetings, in our symposiums, or whatever venue we may be sponsoring. Uh, but we want people to know that stigma has to be taken out of the scenario. The other part of that is acceptance. Sometimes people will accept that it is a concern, and so then we want to equip you with the tools that you can use to continue to make progress on this journey. So those are the kinds of things that we face every day as an organization.
And feel free to jump in on this, Joyce, also. But in terms of the somebody getting the diagnosis and they get that, what do they then do with that? Or how can you, for example, your organization help from an educational standpoint? Where do you come into play?
Well, we keep them encouraged, Blaine, and we let them know that there's no judgmental. Um, we're not judgmental of anyone. When they come in to share, to tell us what's going on or to share their stories, we let them know that it's confidential and they're in a safe place. And if they don't, if they feel as though that they do not want to get that diagnosis and they just want to continue to live the way they are, we embrace them and we still have them come into the support groups. And believe it or not, a question was asked. Um, we asked some of our members in regard to their feeling of how they felt about the organization, and they all say that they feel as though that they're getting help, that they feel safe, they feel valued, and they love to come and share and tell their stories.
And if you would just elaborate a little bit on this, you're talking, I love the idea of the support groups. How do they work? Is this a regular thing or where do they meet? How does that take place?
We have support groups that meet every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, for an hour. We have 12 sites now, which we are very pleased with.
Wow.
We have our core members that come, they come with hope, gratitude, and very supportive of the organization. We share, tell our stories. We bring in the professionals to answer questions. We have a retired geriatrician who's with us. We now have psychologist who's on board. So we have a wide variety of individuals and volunteers who are here to help support us in this organization and on this journey.
Where do the support groups meet?
We meet in the Asheville area. We have the North proper area. We have the site there, a couple of them. We have the South and West Asheville area. So we are pretty much centralized for the entire Asheville community where there are sites available in all areas of Asheville. We have that scheduled on our Facebook page and on our website. We'll let them know where they can find our sites later on.
And so a support group is typically how many folks are involved in it?
Well, I'll answer that because it's a different dynamic per group. We have had support groups that may have had 20 people at one time at a meeting, and we may have 5 people at another meeting, or 10 or 15 at another site. And we don't particularly worry about that because our goal is to reach one person. And if at the end of the night you can leave, or end of the day you can leave, and you felt that you met the things that you needed, the goals that you were trying to accomplish, then the job is done. And so it is a variety of attendees at these different locations.
So the attendees, if I can ask, so the people, these are people who are actually going through dementia at present, is that it?
Here's the caveat for this organization. Most people are always engaging in a conversation of caregiver support groups. And so as we sat down and thought about how to set this in motion and how to serve the greater population in our community or farther and beyond, we said, well, why don't we include the person that's on the journey, whether they have a diagnosis or not, the family member and the caregiver. And starting this 2 years ago now with one location here in West Asheville, now we have 12. It says to us that we're doing something right. It says to us that we're meeting the needs of all those persons that we name. And it has been a success, and we would love to continue to grow it and reach as many people as we can here in this area and beyond.
Now, does this also, if I can ask, involve not only the person, I like how you said going through the journey, but is it also for their support folks, their family and friends? Are they invited
Yes,
to
yes,
support groups as well?
yes. The caregivers and the family members are all invited. And we do realize that some people may wear 2 hats. They may be the caregiver and the family member in that household. We welcome that. We understand that a lot of times, due to finances and circumstances, you may not be privileged to have a caregiver set aside to pay for a caregiver or provide that service. So some of our meeting attendees would be 2 persons in one. But at that same token, everybody's welcome.
Now, you also do, I understand, you do some educational programs as well for the community. What are those involved?
We have our symposiums that we do twice a year. As a matter of fact, we just did one in April where we bring in different agencies who are involved with dementia, caregiving support. We bring them in. We have professional speakers that come in from different agencies. So we felt as though that if the community cannot get to a meeting or come to us and see what Dementia Partners is all about, we are offering a symposium to the community for small donation that we ask to come and find out what the Dementia Partners is all about and to find out the information that you need to help you on this journey.
If you would talk also about, I guess, an upcoming program. You're doing another symposium, I guess it's in October. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you have details on that or what's going to be involved in that one?
Yes, that is October the 11th. And we scheduled one last year, but of course, we all experienced Helene, and it was just about a week before our scheduled symposium. But it's October 11th. and it will be held at the Scenic Hotel in Biltmore Village.
Nice.
And we are anticipating a pretty large crowd. What we did this past April, Blaine, was to provide a continuum of speakers. And so we have a memory care person from Memory Care of Asheville to come in and explain the techniques and the process of getting a diagnosis, and the costs, and all of the things that are involved in that. Then the next person, we focus on legal. It's important to know that you need a power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney. Most of us know that, but we may not prepare ourselves for a trust or guardianship. And through my personal experience, I learned that is something that needs to be shared. And so we want to try to prepare you to look a little bit long way at what might be suitable for the family.
If I could just jump in there a second, because again, I've been through similar kinds of experiences as well. And I imagine that the tough thing, Vernon, is a lot of people kind of know this in the back of their mind, but they don't do anything about it, so that, like you said, most people know it, but so many people haven't given much thought to it or put it in writing or let their other family members know what's happening, So it's just one thing to be aware of it, but I guess you're trying to make them not only be aware of it, but do something about it.
Do something. That's right. That's right. And as we go through that process in that symposium, people are taking notes, but at the same time, doing the breaks. And after it's completed, they're speaking to the speakers, getting that inside knowledge that they need, and possibly setting up some type of appointment with them to say, hey, I really need to come in and talk to you about this. So it does push everyone to come to a call to action, I would say. And then the third speaker would be someone that had both sides of the fence. So it could be a family member that's a professional, and now they're in this role of a caregiver, and that may be something new to them. So we want to try to offer that bridge between your professional role and your being a caregiver. And the fourth speaker was someone that we had from neuroscience, neurology, and he was to share with us the current treatments and the medications that are being marketed at this time to slow this process down. So there again, we have a continuum of how to get your diagnosis up until treatment. And each time that we do the symposium, we add a different component to better yet serve the community.
I guess that's the key also, to getting people to come to your meetings, or when you have them, because I guess they'll find out they're not alone, and more importantly, I guess very helpful to folks is there'll be other people they can speak to who are going through similar experiences, because you were saying, Joyce, or when you were when you went through it, and I remember when I went through it, there wasn't a lot of support out there. It's like the problem, I guess, some people have, they hear the word Alzheimer's disease, and they think, well, that's terrible, and people get Alzheimer's disease. But correct me if I'm wrong, or the way I see it, a lot of people go through dementia actually before or during they have Alzheimer's disease, and that sort of affects everybody, whereas Alzheimer's disease is only a small percentage of the people. So I guess the thing that you're helping me make people aware of is the fact that, yeah, a lot of people go through this, but there are places to go for help or advice or counseling.
Absolutely, Glenn. You're absolutely correct. Because we were going through it with our parents. We were not a part of the support group. Therefore, we didn't realize all of the resources that were here for us, and that we could use to help us on the journey, to help us be the caregivers that you wanted to be. We did the best that we could. When my mother was diagnosed, it was myself, Vernon, and my siblings. We cared for her while we were working. Of course, that was a life-changing event because everything changed. So therefore, we had caregivers to come in to help, but they didn't stay. They would come and go. But being a part of a support group, we feel now that it would have helped us a little more. We would have been less stressed and less burdened or what have you if we had some type of support where we could hear other stories where people share the same challenges that we did when we were on the journey with our parents. And so that's why we felt it is so passionate for us to let the community know, to let families know that there are resources here. There is help for you on this journey.
And what's so exciting, I think, about what you're doing is the fact that, yeah, a lot of people out there still don't know that there's support or help. They don't know that there's a group in Asheville that they can work with or will help folks go. I love how you say going through the journey, but that's what people are going through. And so let's talk about if people want to get involved in this journey with you or support you folks. First of all, are there volunteer opportunities? Are you looking to get other people involved in your organization?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, this operation is all volunteer, and it's amazing to many people in the community as to how many people are so involved in Dementia Partners AVL, and it seems as if you're going to work every day, but that's the commitment and the passion that everyone brings to this organization. So how we set this up is simply, we, Joyce and I, can't do it all. But what we do, we encourage persons that have an interest in facilitating a support group to let us know that so that we can have a conversation in regards to what your interests are and what we do as an organization. And once that conversation has been held and we all can come to some agreement on that, then we will provide an in-house 2-hour orientation that we do for every person. And that's a comprehensive overview of the organization from the history all the way down to the materials that you receive. And so we try to staff each location with a program coordinator, an assistant program coordinator, and a finance assistant person. And typically that works pretty well. We have 12 sites now, and we have 6 coordinators, and we just placed an advertisement on Facebook and our website. If you're interested, please contact us.
Well, you read my mind there, Vernon. So you mentioned the website, for example. What is the website?
The website is dementiapartnersavl.org.
Okay. If they go there, they'll find out everything they need to know about getting
Everything.
involved.
We have a very thorough website with all kind of information, all of our marks of history and staffing and services. We do have a listing of all the sites, and we have the coordinators listed there with photos. It's just a wealth of information there. And we know that a lot of people do not do Facebook, but we do have a Facebook, and that's Dementia Partners AVL Inc. Just in case you don't do Facebook, you can always Google the website. So
Well, you say that because again, that describes me and I guess other people that I was a Facebook guy for a long time, but now I had to get into Instagram. And you don't necessarily have to worry about Instagram, but Instagram are where my daughter hangs. And
okay.
I'm outdated. With Facebook, and then there's also you guys, but you maybe should be on Instagram. In case any kids, grandkids, whatever. Are you on LinkedIn also?
I am.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
But you can only do so many things. But you're giving a great idea for anybody volunteering. So if somebody wants to volunteer, what are you looking for if they want to come and help you guys out? What kind of things you looking for?
Typically, we ask you really just for 2 hours of your time in regards to the 2 support group meetings for a month. Now, there are 1 or 2 sites that are only operating once a month at this time, but as we continue to grow those locations, then we'll probably turn over to by monthly. Uh, in essence, 2 hours of your time. Now, we have done something a little different. We have encouraged all of our leaders to attend the symposium. It's going to always be a benefit to them. And just recently, we have initiated a leadership seminar that we're going to do quarterly. And we just had one in May, and we'll have another one in August. And there we'll bring in a professional developer to give us some good information on goal setting for the organization and effective leadership and effective volunteer services. So we offer quite a bit. If you have the time to attend quite a few of these things, it's going to be beneficial, help the organization grow.
I would imagine also, we were talking a little bit about social media. If somebody comes forward and loves doing Facebook or websites or other kind of stuff like that, you welcome them to help out as well?
Absolutely. We do have a marketing gentleman on board, and he does an outstanding job with all of our marketing, but we always can use help in all areas, in all divisions. Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you something else too, in terms of funding you folks. So you're a nonprofit. Talk about the two things, I guess, people can get involved. I assume people want to donate to the organization, you'll take donations?
Absolutely. We do, and whether that's by a method of check, cash, or even credit, we can do that. We do have a PayPal system set up to receive those for you. We encourage people to give donations monthly, uh, annually, however they see fit, that they feel it would be a benefit of help. We do encourage, if you do want to leave something in love of a memory of a loved one, that you can do that as well, or a state donation, whatever you feel is going to be a benefit to better help us do our services. We would certainly appreciate it.
Now, I'll ask maybe a final question of you both, or maybe I'll start with Joyce on this, that where do you see the organization going, like the next 5 years? Where do you see the organization going?
Well, we've been so successful in the past 2 years. We didn't expect that we would have 12 sites,
Right.
and we do. But Blaine, it's we're looking forward to continuing doing the work for the community, for the area, and if we have to go outside of Asheville, we're willing to do that. So we're hoping to just be a national organization in the future. That's our goal. That's what we're looking for because we know that dementia has no respect of person, and so many families all around is affected with dementia um, in today's world.
So I was going to ask you, so you mentioned the Asheville area. So how much does that encompass? Do you go out just in Asheville proper? Do you go out to the suburbs?
Well, to be honest, we have a new site beginning this week on Thursday in Canada.
Wow, great.
We're going west now. But to add to what Joyce mentioned, we have had virtual platforms, and we do offer virtual platforms. And we have connected with people in Florida, and Connecticut, and Maryland, you name it, we've been there. And in our personal travels, everywhere we go across the country, we always talking to people, giving them our business cards, making connections, and you'd be surprised that a lot of people say, well, I don't have this in my area. And so we'll say, well, let's have that conversation about getting you on virtual. You can be in California and still be on virtual. But at some point, you might need a site in California. So we'll be happy to do that too. So we do mean what we say. We can see the vision of being a national organization because we know that people everywhere in this country can benefit from this process that we offer and the help that we offer.
And maybe one more time, the two of you, or just one of you. So we're talking about this really cool organization you've gotten off the ground for the actual area. The website was again what?
DementiaPartnersAVL.org.
Okay. And also one more time, the date of that upcoming October event is what?
October the 11th.
Okay. And so people can wait till then, but we encourage them to get involved much sooner than that.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how you guys are doing. I mean, that's pretty impressive to go from nowhere within a couple of years to go to 12 sites. That's pretty cool. So I want to thank you for doing that and for the work you're doing for the community. I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Cassetti, and hopefully we'll bump into each other sometime in the not too distant future, guys. Thanks an awful lot.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
My pleasure.